Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mother of Change show. Today, we have a special guest with us, Gloria Betts Caldwell. And today, we're talking about breaking free from average.
Gloria, this is going to be a topic near and dear to my heart because although we're new friends, this is a topic that literally I want to hear another mama say it because listen, you know, sometimes our kids hear it from us and they're like, yes, mom, but you know, I want to hear what you have to say about living above average.
Yes. So living above average, I've always been taught to go outside of the mark, go outside of the box. So, you know, as a child, you go to school and you're along with your peers and you're trying to be like, you're searching for who you are, but you're trying to be like your peers because you see certain things pop out in them. So you may migrate towards what they do, but that's not for you. So then when you do that and you find yourself patterning yourself after someone else, when they stop, you stop. So you stop at your average, okay? But it's not really your average, it's their average. But you get that mindset as you go through life. And you start patterning yourself after coworkers, church members, people that you see on the screen. You don't know how they got there, but you start to develop this pattern, and it develops mediocrity. You have to search for who you are, and you have to aspire to be the best at who you are. So as a mother, I try to instill that in my daughter. I try to say, don't be mindful of what's going on with your friends or your other peers at school. You have to do what's good for Giovanna. You have to search for the greatness in Giovanna. God instilled that in every last one of us. It's all different. He made us all different, from fingerprint to blood to everything. We're all different. We're all a different creative makeup. I have a brother. We have the same bloodlines. The consistency of that is very different. We are two different people. So no matter how close you get to it, coming out of the same two people, you are very different. So you have to search for who that is. So I think when you stop and you just continue to compare yourself to one another and you don't ask God, what is it that I'm here for? What is it that is my calling, my gifting? You stop at mediocre. I
just have to tell our viewers, okay, we're talking about living above average, but you are a program analyst for NASA. So I mean, you know, you already being an example to your daughter of what it is to be a woman in America living above average and going out after what it is that God intended for you.
Absolutely.
And one thing that you said was searching for, we have to search for who it is that God's called us to be so that we can live to that parameter of who He's called us to be. And it is a journey. And, you know, why do our kids and why do people, adults, humans, go and try to be somebody else? It's because it's easy.
It is. It's very easy. It's lazy. It's laziness.
Call it what it is.
And it is, because, you know, in order to not be mediocre, you have to go above the mark. When you go above the mark,
That's work.
It is. It's work. It's confusing. It's frustrating because you don't understand those grounds. Those grounds are great.
At times.
It can be very lonely at times. So, you know, a lot of people shy away from that. They tend to back up and go, whoa, this is uncomfortable for me, so I'll just stop right here. I know so many people that I work with, and I say, do you want to be a team lead? Do you want to be a manager? I'm good right here. Why are you good right there? I'm comfortable. Why are you comfortable? Because I can go and do what I want to do, and I don't have to worry about anything, and I know this like the back of my hand. Oh, you're lazy. You're lazy.
Wow.
Okay, but God doesn't call for you to be a lazy Christian.
That's right.
You have to go through. You have to press through. You have to lean and depend on Him. And I find that I'm in an average or mediocre space when I don't have to ask God for help. If I don't have to ask you for help, then what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. The devil doesn't tempt you unless you're progressing, right? Well, you're not progressing if you're standing at mediocre. If you're okay with being who you are right now in this space. So you're saying, I'm stunning my growth. I don't want to have the ability to get any stronger, any wiser. And, you know, when you look at life, it's about obtaining knowledge. You have to have knowledge. They say you have to read to grow. That's knowledge. Okay. But if you stop at mediocre, you go out, I'm good. I'm good right here in this space. This is where I've stopped. The world is going to keep moving past you, and you're just going to stand still right there. Well, after so long, with the way that the world progresses, you're left behind now. You're not even in the space that you were in previously. But some people are okay there.
And I mean,
okay.
Bijou, with even that mindset of when we're not growing, we're not just standing still. We're actually, like you said, we're moving backwards, because in God's economy, you can't just stay still. You're either moving forward or you're being pulled backward. And a lot of people don't talk about this. It can be a little bit controversial, but a lot of times even because I've done my stuff. Usually like, where are you going with this woman? I have done my research and I've looked at history, and even in public schools, and I hate to say it, but even in public schools, is that they're the inception of why they were created isn't what people think. We've grown very comfortable to think that, sending our kids to public school to be taught is the right thing to do so they have the best future, but actually that wasn't the intention. It was not. No. And it was to keep our kids average.
It was to help create, they were basically standardizing education to help children work better as workers inside factories. So
assembly line workers.
Assembly line workers. And while it's all good and great that now more children were getting some sort of education, they were getting the rubber stamp like cookie cutters education to create cookie cutter children. And so it worked for that day and age, but we are here now and we have way more.
What did they introduce? The No Child Left Behind. What does that do?
Yeah.
It allows you to keep moving at your mediocre space. It's telling a child that you don't have to obtain this goal.
Yeah.
You're not going to get left behind. It's still part of that.
Gloria, you are given so many great points, but we're going to come right back to that one right after this short break.
Ain't no way you're bringing me down. Thought that you could keep me under, but I've been lifted up from the ground. And just in case you've ever wondered,
And welcome back to the Mother of Change show. Today we have Gloria Betts Caldwell, and we are talking about living higher than average. And we were just talking about a kind of touchy subject. Yes. I don't think most moms here, other moms and a daughter of change here, talking about some of the problems that our school provides for our children. And, today we're talking about mediocrity and, what is mediocrity? It really is just living average.
Yes.
And what is living average? It's living below par. Average, we were talking about, kids wanting to be like other kids. Well, that's average.
Right.
But is it average or is it below par? So when you start to redefine average as not, subpar, but you start to, in your mind, because it has to be something that you put in your mind, because if the definition is average is like everybody else, but in your mind and in my mind, average is actually defined as below the mark. And we want to live we don't even want to be at this standard here. We want to be here. And so the truth is that every time we try to live average like everybody else, we're just constantly slipping below the mark, which is what you alluded to, Gloria. So,
Absolutely, because like we were talking about before, that's their mark. That's not your mark.
That's right.
And that's like if I try to do what you do, I will never do it as good as you. It's not my calling. Yeah. So are you really hitting the mark? Like you said, are you coming in subpar? You're subpar.
Yeah.
So you have to constantly grow, reach, ask God, what am I here for? What is my purpose? And work toward your purpose. And like we were talking about in the schools where they dumb you down. Everything is, you're hitting a standard. Yeah. But what the standard is a foundation. and you're building the foundation as you're going through your educational process for what you are going to be. Okay. So if your standard is below, that's your preparation process, you know? So you're preparing yourself to be mediocre.
Exactly. Right. Well, it's interesting that when you even mentioned like the whole average thing as being below like this. So imagine our standards are here. Let's pretend this is like the full average, the highest that you can be. Let's say it's right here. Right. When we say average, I think everybody thinks in the exact middle, but that's not how math works. It's not. Average, when you do it like in math, average is whatever is the most numbers, right? And then you have this. This is the outlier up here. There's 1% of people that are at their highest potential. That's right. Average is not in the middle. It is like down here, and then there's a like here, okay? Absolutely. So that's the difference. So we're not trying to be average. We're getting to that 1% mark. Right. We're trying to be the outliers. And so, you know, I think having this mediocre mindset of just like, trying to fit in and try to just, you know, keep up with the Johnsons or keep up with the Jones, whatever you want to say, is like just staying in that same exact cycle.
What's the point?
It's a cycle.
You know, what raising, Bijou, you can answer this or talk about it, is that raising them, if they wanted to annoy me as a mother, like just try to be like the other kids. Right. Like absolutely. I don't like, there's nothing absolutely like within my psyche and within my person, like if I saw them trying to, and it's not like none of them tried to be, and some tried more than others, and that's, to me, and this is where we bring in the spiritual aspect of it, is really it's the flesh. Yes. The flesh wants to keep you average, because if you live by the Spirit, you're going to naturally be elevated. And so the more that we're in the flesh, the more that we're average.
That's right. Wow. That's right. That is so true. And I even look at it like we talk about from sibling to sibling. There's a difference. Like you said, I ask my daughter all the time, I said, well, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? My son kind of has it in place. This is what I want to do. And he's such a little intellectual little guy, but I mean, he already has it planned out. He's 8. Okay. And he can tell you what he wants to do, and he's going to get there. And he's so confident that he's going to get there. Yeah. My daughter she's not a follower. She's a leader by nature. Yeah. She hasn't quite figured it out yet. Yeah. And I said, you need to figure that out, because I'm noticing that the more you get on TikTok, the more you watch YouTube, you're absorbing that. You're not finding what it is that you are supposed to do. You're finding what it is that everyone else is doing. Yeah. And I don't want you to end up falling in this marriage of being mediocre. You're not going to we don't do that in this house. Wow. We don't.
I'm like, listen, I'm like, just go ahead and just say it the way it is, because you made a standard. You said, we don't do it in this house.
We don't. And you have to have that standard. You have to say, and like they said, that's for me and my house. Right. Yeah. We serve the Lord. That's a standard. Right. You have to set standards. I listen to Eric Thomas every morning, and he talks about the standard. Right. You know, what is your standard? You know, he talks about standards and what is your anchor? You know, you have to set a standard for yourself. And when you talk about the 1%ers, he constantly talks about the 1%ers. Yep. I mean, you have to aspire. You have to intentionally try to be a 1%er. Yeah, you have to push yourself. You can't get there being mediocre. No. You can't.
No, it's a lot of work.
And it's lonely.
Yes, it can be very lonely.
Absolutely.
Our pastor is Pastor Eric Thomas. Okay. So we love him and we listen to him quite often. So
he actually renewed our vows in Cancun, not last year, but the year before. He renewed our vows, my husband and I, in Cancun. Wow. But he was ministering to us just on the TV, YouTube, just like he does everybody else. And when we were in the hole, and we were living beyond poverty level by the world standard, not by God's standard. We were in the desert by God's standard, by the world standard. We were at the poverty financial level. Okay, but during that time, though, we had a decision to make, because we didn't have running water, we didn't have electricity. We were living on 100 acre in the middle of thousands of acre of just dirt, not a single tree on thousands of acre. Yeah. And it would get like 117. We were living in an RV. Yeah, 117 in the summertime. It would be like never cold enough in the summertime, never warm enough in the winter. But I'll tell you is that during that time even, is that we would listen to E.T. and he always, I would get so tired, and it was so draining, and we had to work so hard. But he used to say, there was this one, he would say, they come up to me and they say, Eric, when is it going to get easier? When is it going to be, when is it going to get simpler? And he said, it's not going to get easier. It's not going to get simpler. Yeah, like you have to find something. And I'm not going to hit my mic right now. You have to find something within, and he hit his chest because that's what's going to drive you, and that's what's going to push you, and that's what's going to motivate you. Yeah. And being average is being a product of your circumstances, and being above average is living beyond your circumstances.
That's right. It is. It is. And like you said, it is a product of it. A product of it. But it's a choice that you make to not be a product of it.
Yeah. Right. We very intentionally, I remember, I think
that's my word.
That's intentional.
Yes.
Intentional.
Yes.
And I think that was the thing that made that
situation,
that season different for us, as we were very intentional. All of us knew that we weren't going to stay that way.
That's right.
Every one of us had this dream of having a massive house where we all had great wealth, where we all were able to minister to millions of people.
When we only made $26,000 in a single year, 2018.
Yes. So this is new.
Yes.
Yeah, this is new.
This is fresh.
Yes. So we knew
that we weren't meant to stay there.
Oh, absolutely.
And we had to break a poverty mindset, which was the mediocre mindset of that community, I would say.
Well, we had, my husband was in law enforcement, so we made decent money, and we had a nice home in Oregon, but the Lord had us go to the desert. He had us go to the desert, and then during the time in the desert, he had us lose all of our income. It's like he put us in a predicament where all we had was him. And so
there it is.
we got to live what it's like. I mean, like people came over, it was like a third world living situation. It was. It was bad.
I look back at photos just recently and I was like, whoa, that's a lot, for me to look at.
Like, it's so funny. Like, oh yeah, no, like no running water. If you're 40 minutes to get to town, the water, storage would break or something. I'm like, it's dirt. It's so much dirt out there.
We have a video of my dad. He's getting buckets and he's literally catching rainwater off of the roof.
It's dripping rain, and it was raining, and everybody's getting out to catch water. In Oregon we used to come in because it was wet all the time, and in Texas we used to go out and put buckets, and we used to
receive.
And so that was
we would pray for rain.
Yeah, so that was our whole lifestyle over there.
Amazing.
We have a whole story, but I'll tell you this right now is that that time in the literal desert with snakes and tarantulas and all this stuff is that we had to learn to not be content with staying there.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I want to be scriptural about this because,
Okay, we knew that we were in Meribah. God specifically told us that wasn't our Canaan. So we knew that.
Right.
So what's important? Okay, so
we knew it was a transition.
So I'm trying to think, because the Israelites complained, because the Lord dealt with me about complaining. But the thing is that there was always hope that we were, just like with Moses, there was hope that they were going to Canaan. And so so I want to be careful to say, like, it's not okay for us to complain. There's a difference between saying, you know what, I'm not going to stay comfortable here because God's promised me more.
That's right.
And so when I'm saying not to,
I hate this place, this is awful.
Yeah, I was content that the Lord was providing for us, but I knew that wasn't forever going to be our lot.
You were going through the process.
Yes.
To be able
to being grateful for the manna.
That's right. Of going through the process of being able to appreciate what you had and knowing that your calling was higher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But
and even just to wrap that whole story in is that the Lord will bring people into our lives, like E.T. at that time, and you say you listen to him in the morning, and it's because he's in that 1% and 2% that he's able to impact the masses.
That's right.
But then there are going to be those who listen to the message, and it's like there's that small percentage of people, but we can all be in that. More people could be in that percentage if they want to. It's just a choice.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's amazing. I mean, when I listen to the story, I listen to it, and I hear. I'm not here to be mediocre, and even when you may know what the Lord has for you, it doesn't mean you're going to strive for it. I mean, you think about the people that they know they have the ability to, but do they have the gumption to? Do they have the intentionality to do it? As you were saying, you have to be intentional. Are you here to endure what you have to go through, the process? Because think about it, if you weren't willing to go through the process, or you stopped in the process and just said, I'm tired, I'm going to stop right here, you wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Right.
It's that whole thing. But you have to decide, I'm not here for this. God has made me for so much more. And it's the same thing.
Right.
God's calling on your life is so much bigger for you to accept being average.
So when we're talking about being above average, right? So you work at NASA. Okay. So this is an area where there's a lot of above average people.
Gosh, yes.
What is one characteristic that you would say that defines and differentiates these people? Like just even in their mindset, their personality, character, anything.
I would say discipline.
Interesting.
I would say discipline. When I talk to physicists, when I talk to engineers, and I'm not saying they're the only intelligent people. Like I said, I'm in the money part of it, but you have the money. You even have janitorial services. You have environmental, you have many different fields that are there.
Yeah.
But the ones that are studied, the ones that have pressed through, that's where I see the success. That's where I see that they continuously climb, they branch out and they do other things, the ones that are getting the patents, and the ones that are going out and speaking and outreaching and doing other things than your job. And I think that's another thing. NASA is my segue to where I'm going. And I understand that it provides a lifestyle for my children and I, but I refuse to be like the ones that say, I'm coming to work, I'm punching a clock, or I'm signing in, and that's just my life. No, it's not my life. This is my stair step. I'm meeting people. I'm gaining knowledge from people. I sit and talk with people of many walks of life, like the successful people that are moving forward. I grab mentors that have done what I've done and even gone out into the world.
Wow.
Not just the community, the world, and done things. And I'm like, and that's the good pattern. Yep. It's not saying I want to do what they do. It's saying, what is it in you that makes you want to keep striving to be better? Yeah. So, I'm a single mother. So there was a time that I said, okay, I have to stop myself. I got divorced. My children were 3 and 1. And I said, I have to be a full-on mother. And then for a certain amount of time, I noticed I was being complacent. Well, my standard is I don't do mediocre in my house. Complacency is being mediocre.
Right.
And I said to myself, no, I need to step outside that realm. I need to do something else. I've seen other mothers do it. I'm not saying that I'm here to be them, but what I'm here to say is I've seen it happen. I know I have the ability to do it. And then that's when I got in my alone time. I took 2 years and it was me and God. And I said, let me get my focus. Let me work on my faith. Let me figure out what I'm here for, and let me be intentional about being better than the place that I'm in. Now, I didn't think I was a mediocre person, but I'm always constantly striving to be better. So
the intentional note is a definite key factor. So we're going to come back right after this commercial.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Mother of Change show. I have our host here, Emma Sarah, and I'm co-hosting as well. We are so excited for this amazing show. We've had women from all across the country come into this same living room, have chats on this very exact same sofa about very real and relevant topics in motherhood today. It's cool because we get to have different perspectives from different moms.
So if you're a mom and you have a story to share, we want to have you as our guest here on this sofa because your story brings value and your story will not just, it's something that the Lord has done within your life, but you're going to get to share it with the world.
Yeah.
And so we just love that every one of us has a story. Every one of us has gone through pain and sorrow at some point, but it's all for a purpose.
It's all for a purpose. So if you're one of those moms that has a message,
you have a story that will impact other moms, then please see the link below. We would love to have you be our next guest on the Mother of Change show.
God bless and see you soon.
So welcome back. We're with Gloria Betts Caldwell, and we are talking about living above average.
Yes.
And when you're working in NASA, that's a whole type of person that you have to apply. You have to qualify.
You do.
And so when we're looking even just, and this is not even, everything's not just about a job. I mean, we can live this type of standard, whether or not we are in this professional field or we're a mom at home or a teacher or a student. And one of the things that I love is that you keep coming back to that this is the way we do it in our house, and we don't do mediocre in our house. And so one of the things as we're coming more towards the close of this show is that if we're going to tell them not to lead a mediocre life, then we need to tell them what that looks like. So maybe we should give them at least 2 to 3 bullet points of things that they can do, even as mothers and as daughters, to not live that mediocre lifestyle.
Right. So I think for me, it would be one, the thing that I tell my daughters, I say, you have to understand that you are special. You have to understand God's love for you and that he did not bring you here for that. I've already instilled God in my daughter's life, so she understands the importance. She understands that she is here to please him and not to please others. So in order to please him, I'm saying to her, you have to understand that if you miss your mark that he has for you, then you're looking him in his face and telling him, your creation is just null and void. I'm not doing that. So I tell her, hey, you have to understand that you are here for a divine purpose and you don't want to bury that purpose. When they put you in the ground, you don't want them to bury your purpose with you. You want to reach that goal. You want to get to that mark. Now, she's young now, and I don't think she understands it as much, but as she gets older, she will realize, hey, my mom said this to me. So we have to do that. We have to do that.
Yeah,
I agree. What about you, Bijou?
I would say confidence is along the lines of what you were saying right there. I would say learning to have the confidence within you to know that, you know what, I'm surrounded with the right kind of people. I'm surrounded, or surround yourself with those kinds of people to help boost that confidence too, of like knowing what to even model and having some of that. But more importantly, have that confidence because like you said, you now know how special you are. You're like, okay, God, you created for me, me for this. I'm going to give it my all. And I am who I am. I am who I am. And this is who I am. And this is what I'm going to do. And this is who I'm going to be every single day. So, and
so we have confidence. And what is your one-liner for that one?
My one-liner, I think, would be to understand God's love, your purpose.
Okay.
That you're purposed by God.
There was one thing she said just before that. Special to understand, to recognize that you're special.
You
okay.
are.
So as an I statement is it recognize that I'm special. And in order to do that, you have to have confidence. Okay.
That's right.
And so the thing that I would say, the third point is that, and this is how I've tried to mirror this for my girls, but because I'm forward, like I want to push things forward. So I'm not just sitting around waiting for spectacular things to happen. And so when I come into the room, I want to be different.
I would say the bonus point real quick to wrap everything up though, is like you can have all of this, right? But you don't want to be like walking in a room like a diva, right?
That's good.
So this is
humility.
Yes, it's the humility, and the humility will come from the discipline. Because the discipline, if you have humility and discipline hand in hand, it will make you a rounded, balanced person that actually is the 1%. Not somebody that's like, yeah, I'm the 1%, but you're like here actually, okay? It's like shouting your own thing.
I love that we're ending it with that, because that is, and I've tried to model that with my kids. I have that confidence and I don't mind doing it. I'm making a joke right now, but at the end of the day, it's still Christ in me that I want them to see.
Absolutely.
The Mother of Change show is on because of viewers like you. If you'd like to donate to keep this show rolling so we can get guests to come and minister to you, you can donate at motherofchange.tv, and we'll see you again. Remember, y'all, go out, change the world, and start at home.